Hey guys, today we are looking at my Seiko 5 GMT, specifically the SSK003 with the blue sunburst dial and also known as the Blueberry. When this watch was first released 2 years ago, the price tag of almost $500 was still a bit too steep for me. However, today we are able to find these watches brand new for a discounted price. I bought mine off eBay for $300 and I have even heard people finding them for even less. Finally being able to afford a $300 price tag, I was curious to see how this watch fit and felt around my wrist. Looking at the front of the watch, we see a very familiar design to the Seiko SKX. The hour and minute hand as well as the raised hour markers with its polished borders are a spitting image of the SKX. Also the hour markers, minute, hour, and second hands, including the GMT hands, are filled with Seiko's Luma Bright, which glows brightly in low light. However, that is about all the similarities. Everything else about this watch is completely different. The SKX was a certified dive watch with a screw down crown and 200-meter water resistance, and all that didn't transfer over to the SSK, which is where some people are put off by the SSK. However, the SSK is a GMT, so it doesn't need all the aspects of a dive watch, but it still has 100-meter water resistance, which is more than enough for the average consumer. The first difference we notice is the fourth GMT hand. And in the SSK003, that GMT hand is red. We have a 24-hour rehot and a 24-hour split color hardlex bezel, which gives us the option to track 3 time zones. But with the case of this watch, since it has a non-click friction bezel, I find that it is easy to accidentally bump the bezel out of alignment of your 3rd time zone, so I find it more practical just track 2 time zones and keeping the bezel triangle aligned at the 12 o'clock position as my reference point. In the case of the 003, we have a black and blue bicolor bezel, the blue part of the bezel representing the daytime hours and the black representing the nighttime hours. Looking at the blue part, it can almost appear black in different angles of light, which is always a plus in my book. Looking at the friction fit bezel, we have a bi-directional movement, and the best way for me to describe the feeling when rotating is a smooth resistance. Surrounding the bezel, we have double row knurling for extra grip and ease of turn. Complementing everything is a dark blue sunburst dial. At the 12 o'clock position, we have a raised Seiko letters. At the 3 o'clock position, we have a date window, and the words automatic GMT at the 6 o'clock. Shielding the dial is a hardlex crystal with a cyclops date window. Now I agree with everyone that at this price point, we should have a sapphire crystal, given that some of the Seiko quartz watch priced much lower have sapphire crystals. Now let's focus on the case and some of the measurements and see how this watch fits on my 6.5 centimeter wrist. My first impression is this watch is top heavy, but manageable. The reason for this is it sits high on the wrist due to the 13.6mm thickness. With a 42.5mm case diameter, one would presume that this watch would wear big on my 6.5 centimeter wrist. But with a fairly short lug to lug width of just 46mm, it doesn't feel big on the wrist at all. And having worn this watch for 2 weeks straight, the weight is hardly an issue. The sides of the case, we have a polished surface and very prone to scuff and fingerprints. Looking on the side with the crown, we see the polished surface transition into the crown guard. A complaint I have of this watch was the crown guard and crown digging into the top of my hand in certain position, and it does leave a mark with slight discomfort. However, I changed the Jubilee bracelet to a strap code President bracelet, and it seems to make it more tolerable. I'm thinking the President bracelet holds the weight of the watch better than the Jubilee, making the watch as a whole less saggy. However, the Jubilee bracelet is comfortable on the wrist and I will be putting it back on for occasions that require me to wear some more bling. Leave a comment down below which strap you think looks better with the watch. Taking a look at the bracelet, we have female end links. The links are held together by pins, and we have a pretty basic stamped clasp that gets the job done, and it does have 4 holes for micro adjustment. Looking at the back of the watch, we have a screw down case back with a hardlex crystal letting us peek in at the 4R34 movement. The 4R34 is a 24 joule movement which runs at 3 Hz, 21,600 vibrations per hour with 41 hours of power reserve. It has hacking and hand winding and an independent moving GMT hand, which makes this a collar style office GMT. Now, what made this watch such a big deal 2 years ago wasn't so much that people thought this was an updated SKX, Because it wasn't, but because consumers can now purchase a watch with a GMT complication for a low price point with the new 4R34 automatic movement. Before that, you just couldn't find an automatic GMT at an affordable price unless you were buying quartz. Now Seiko decides to sell this movement as the NH34 to the mass market, and 2 years down the line we see many affordable GMTs from micro brands, often putting their own spin and often resulting in higher specs than the Seiko 5 GMT, including things like sapphire crystal, screw down crown, and some with even 200-meter water resistance. So after 2 years have gone by, who is this watch really for? If you're someone like me looking to spend the absolute least amount of money for a GMT, you still cannot beat the price of a Seiko SSK. I was looking everywhere on eBay for used micro brand watches with the NH34 movement, but found that they were still priced about $100 over a brand new Seiko SSK. Having worn this watch every day for 2 weeks, I can honestly say for this price point, I can live with a Hardlex crystal, a non-screw down crown, and 100-meter water resistance. Is this watch perfect? No. But the reason why I bought this watch was to track New York's time zone where most of my family and friends live, and it does that just fine. Well, thank you for watching my review on the Seiko SSK. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed what you've watched, and feel free to comment or ask me any questions on my experience with this watch.